Here are all the strangest news articles of the week that you might have missed. Today we'll be covering football players seeing UFOs, sending bees to Mars, updates on cryogenics, and more. I'm going to share my screen here and we're going to get into it. For all of my American football fans, this first article is for you. And if you love UFOs, this one's also for you. And if you love the two, man, buy a lottery ticket because we're going big today. In March of 2021, NFL quarterback Baker Mayfield, the person that we're seeing on screen right here, then with the Cleveland Browns, reported a UFO sighting near Austin, Texas. We're going to pause. Stop right there. Texas has had a lot of UFO sightings, but some of the more famous ones you can probably think of, but I'm going to name one here being Stephenville. That one is people are very aware of it. It's a very popular case. And there's been a lot of UFO sightings in and around Austin, near the Dallas area, between Austin and Houston. People are seeing really strange stuff. And for Mr. Mayfield right here, he is no exception to that. And in July of 2024, he appeared on the Pardon My Take podcast. So just a few days ago, it seems like, he shared a story supposedly for the very first time. How many times have we heard that? This last year, I'll say 2023, 2024, we've seen a lot of American football players come forward and share their stories, even though their sightings were years back. And don't worry, we'll be naming a few in just a moment. For those that don't follow strangest news of the week consistently, I got you. Before we continue, number one, are you familiar with Baker Mayfield? And number two, have you heard of this? Because this information really just came out. Yes, P says, Cristina has become a sportscaster. At this point, I don't see why I can't be. That'd be fun. It'd be very fun, and then make all the expressions. But I really like the Mexican sportcasters. They're like, goal! And they don't make a goal, but they're so enthusiastic and like ready to go and fired up. And sometimes, not even talking about sports, that's where I want to be. The more American sportscasters, they're very to the point, and I respect that, but it's just not as fun. Jonaside says he's familiar with Baker Mayfield, but not with the story. Yes, Hyde's goal. Yeah, it's good stuff. And if you've never listened to it, I highly recommend just type it in on any platform and you'll go in for a laugh. So what happened here was that in 2021, he was driving out of Austin and he highly emphasized that he was not under the influence by any means and that he saw this incredibly bright circle-shaped object in the sky while driving with his wife Emily across the dam between Lake Travis and Lake Austin. And the object reportedly descended on the road before vanishing. He had mentioned that his wife Emily was on her phone in the middle of the night, like in the car. So the screen is very bright and it takes some time for your eyes to adjust from very bright light to almost pitch black darkness. And he had mentioned in this interview, and you can watch it on your own, I'll place that link below for you, is that this object that Baker saw was so bright that even Emily noticed it. And her eyes were very quick to adjust to that light difference between her cell phone and this object. And then it very quickly disappeared. This is something really interesting to mention because for a lot of UFO sightings, not all of them, but a good chunk of them, is that we hear this consistency of this luminescence across or around an object, usually an orb-like object. And when we compare it to the night sky, it can be almost blindingly bright. What could be the reasoning for that? Is it some kind of incredibly advanced technology that maybe uses light as a propulsion system? Someone's going to say, Cristina, you're out of your mind, but just we don't actually know. So I'm just throwing stuff out there and then you can fill in the gaps where you like. But what I'm really trying to get at is that there is this consistently of bright light. Now, the question is why? What is the purpose for that brightness, right? So when Mayfield shared his experience back not too long ago, it obviously brought in a lot of skepticism, even in today's world. But he came in sharing his stories right after you have Aaron Rodgers, who shared his experience last year on a football television show. And then you have this person right here by the name of Andre James and Max Crosby, who also shared their experience that they had back in 2023, where they were in a plane and the pilot said, "You need to come to the cockpit." So Max Crosby and Andre James, they were able to see a UFO practically following the plane for about 20 minutes. And then here he is. As for Aaron Rodgers, he had shared his experience that he had in the early 2000s, where he saw a very strange light in the sky. But all of these people just started sharing their experiences in late 2023 and into 2024, which goes to show and it displays to the world that anyone can have a UFO sighting. And it's always remarkable to hear these very high profile people, have it be celebrities or athletes, doesn't matter, politicians, even when they share their experience, people sit down and they listen more so than a person that doesn't have that kind of background and or credentials or being in the public eye as much. Yes, with some celebrities you are kind of skeptical, right? Maybe like with Kesha or Miley Cyrus, you might think, I don't really know about that one, and you can make up your own mind if you believe them or not. But there are other people that kind of pique your interest and they're like, whoa, I didn't see that one coming. So I think that's pretty interesting. If you are enjoying the article so far, hit that like button right down below and subscribe if you haven't already, as I do several live shows right here every single week. All right, getting into our next one, and all work and low pay says celebrity experiences are more valid for some people for some reason. And I think we can answer that. And while it's not valid for everyone, because I can understand that, like, why would you place a celebrity in a high pedestal? What makes their word more valuable than someone else's? I get that mentality. But these people already have big followings. And when you are on top of the pedestal, right, you're able to influence people easier. That's why today online, people are called influencers, right? So that might be able to partially answer your question. Getting into our next one. There he is. There. I love this one actually. This one is really exciting, and it has to do with Mars and sending bees to Mars, but they're robotic bees. And NASA is like, yeah, we definitely need to give this a try. So, the NASA Institute of Advanced Concepts is exploring the possibility of using a swarm of robot bees called, just guess the name, it could not be more simplistic, and sometimes simplicity is best. Nate, call it out. They call them Mars bees. Nice. For planetary exploration. And it was inspired by the long range flights of migrating animals like monarch butterflies. And these small robots would be designed to fly efficiently in the thin Martian atmosphere. And so these Mars bees, about the size of bumblebees, which is, I mean, big, but pretty small robotically, with cicada sized wings, would be equipped with sensors and communication devices, allowing them to collect data and return to a rover acting as their base. Do you think that's a cool idea? I think it's a super awesome idea and also effective. I feel like this would be very useful because one, you're dealing with very small objects. You're able to make hundreds, thousands of them a little bit easier than probably making life-sized robots or even the rovers that are already on Mars. They're simple, but they're able to collect data and to fly around pretty far and for a long period. This is actually going to be significant for a future article that we'll be covering today. So remember that, because there's some new stuff that is being applied to certain types of robots, and it's so genius. And NASA could definitely steal that and place it on these Mars bees and then patent it. It's very, very possible. The Mars Bee project, led by researchers at the University of Alabama in Huntsville, aims to create energy efficient flying robots that can operate again in that very low density atmosphere, which is significant. And there has to be a lot of play with that when we are dealing with an atmosphere that isn't from Earth, an Earth atmosphere. And that's when you really got to apply the mathematics and also seeing how the previous rovers have succeeded being on Mars. But in this case, these guys are flying. They don't have wheels. They're not rolling on the Martian soil. No, no, they have to fly around with their cicada sized wings, and hopefully they're not screaming like cicadas, because man, that noise, it's eerie. And if you've never heard it before and you go to like Florida or something, you are in for a shock, because my goodness, the first time you hear it, you think like you're in a horror movie or something, and you better be running really fast and try not to trip. Because that always happens in those horror movies. Someone trips and they're just screaming and screaming, and the camera gets closer, and you're like, just run. But they're too lazy and they're too tired to do so. Do you think this is a good idea? These Mars bees. Do you think that NASA is onto something here? Or could we even compare it to the JWST, the James Webb Space Telescope, and say that it's just as cool or even cooler than that telescope? I want to hear it from you in the live chat. What do you think about that? P says, and then they'll return to the hive. Yes, the rover on Mars will be their hive, their central point, to where they're able to send their data to, and then the rover will send it back to Earth, which to my understanding is about a 20-minute delay. Maybe even a little bit more when you are sending data, more so than just radio communication. Hector says, well, Mars, you better be careful. You know what? I really enjoy some puns and some dad jokes. And you know what? That one was good. That was a good one. Ed says, I think it's the bee's knees. Nice. That's also very funny. Jorge's getting ahead of me. Hold on to that, because that's actually a good point to make. Okay. Now we're getting into here's actually how the rover would work, how they're using what seems to be similar to Wi-Fi when they're able to find the rover. All right, now we're getting into cryogenics, and you either love this idea or you hate this idea. As for rich people, if you have so much money in the bank and you don't want to lose it or give it to your kids or grandkids, well, certain companies are like, hey, guys, I got you. You can be rich forever. Just give me about $500,000. I'll freeze you for X amount of years, and then I'll defrost you. And then all that money you had in the bank, all that interest that built up on that money, you're good to go for life. Go ahead and buy Mars at this point. That's what they want to do. And for myself, when I die, I want to die. I want to be like, bye. I don't want to come back. Some people, on the other hand, you know what? They have these attachments, and money is one of those. So estate planners are developing revival trusts for wealthy individuals interested in this kind of preservation, allowing them to access their wealth if they're ever revived from suspended animation. But then if you're not, what happens? What do you do then? What about your kids and your grandkids and all the other future generations? I get the mentality of some people saying they need to work for their money. I get that. I actually agree with a lot of it. But at the same time, give them a little bit of a head start, right? Or don't keep it and just give it to charity or science advancements or something like that, because every company, every organization, every foundation, every person needs more money probably than what they already have. Minus probably like less than a handful of people, but everyone else, you always need just a little bit more, right? So, this emerging field of estate planning requires clients to have at least $500,000 to place in these trusts, and involves naming beneficiaries as well and trust protectors who can determine whether the frozen individual has been successfully revived. That part I volunteer as tribute. That shouldn't be too hard, right? However, there are significant legal and logistical challenges, as there is currently no way to reverse a death certificate for someone brought back from something like this. That is the legal downfall. Of course, there are always loopholes, and I bet you laws will be placed in at probably very soon to override these, but you do have a really good point, is that when you're dealing with death certificates, that's where it gets very, very tricky. Now, if you bribe these politicians to say, hey, I will let you be frozen for free, man, they're signing that law in so fast. And they're like, yes, absolutely. Now, the concept of cryopreservation has definitely gained traction among just a segment of wealthy individuals, with facilities like the Alcor Life Extension Foundation already housing. Guess how many bodies they have right now? Just take a guess of how many frozen bodies they have and how many paying members they have. I'll give you a few seconds to just kind of give a guess. Now, Margaret says, best scam ever. Yeah, I can definitely see that. That's kind of funny. So, right now, they are housing 230 frozen bodies and have about 1,400 paying members preparing for their own frozen future. Right now, the science of reviving frozen bodies is still somewhat non existent. They have been trying it with obviously rats and other mammals, and some of them have shown a piece, a little bit, a sliver of success. But as for people, there hasn't been 100% rate yet. So these people are just kind of hoping for the best. Mm. Let's say you had that much money and you had so much more money in the bank. Would you go for this? Or would you try cryogenics? Would you say, yeah, sure, why not? It's like a penny to me, putting 500K down. Thinking that you might come back. What if you come back 10, 20, 50 years in the future, 100 years in the future, and life just is absolute garbage? Or the planet has been abandoned and the entire human race is already looking for another planet. What if you come back to life and everything is extinct and you're just living on a floating rock with nothing? I don't know, that little fear right there is enough to send me out. I'm not really for it. Like I said when I started, when I die, I die. Do not even try to bring me back. Saying peace out. I'm ready to go explore the universe or something. That's what and get all the answers. That's what we always hear. When you die, you'll receive all the answers. I'm ready. I'm ready for it now. Give them to me now. But that's not how it works, unfortunately. Okay. Remember a little bit earlier, I said, remember the thing about bees and hives and Mars. Okay, because this is super cool. Now Oscar says, like idiocracy, That's such a good movie, and I can never look at Crocs the same again when I found out that the director at the time when the movie was being created, they were trying to look for honestly the most ugly shoes that were super duper cheap. Crocs were just getting into the field. And so the director of that movie said, "Hey, let me buy your Crocs because they're so darn ugly." And then look at it now. Everyone is wearing them. Nurses, restaurateur, workers, whatever they're called. Your day-to-day person, travelers. Everyone's wearing Crocs. And I still think that they're super ugly. But are they comfortable? To each their own on that one. But are they cute? You cannot convince me that they are good looking. I won't buy it. I'm a Converse kid. So that's why I can't look at that movie the same. All works as I've never owned a pair. Nice. That is definitely a flex. Echo says, "Oh yeah, he predicted Crocs." I might have to thank the movie for allowing them to be one of the more successful shoe brands. Okay, so I said, remember to think about Mars and bees and hives, right? Ants. Talking about ants, and this is actually a really cool fact that I didn't know. But let's read this article according to Science Daily, because researchers at the TU Delft, hold on just. So, researchers have drawn inspiration from insect navigation to develop an autonomous navigation strategy for tiny robots. So, here's the really cool fact about ants in particular is that they are able to create snapshots of their environment which they later use to compare with their current view, allowing them to correct for any drift in their step counting. Why don't we learn those super cool things in school or in books? I don't know, even when you buy like those little ant farms that you put on your desk, there should be a little booklet of super awesome, insane facts. And this one, I had no idea was a thing. So, obviously, some people did, and they are using that to apply to these tiny robots to take little snapshots of their environment. So they're able to get back maybe to the hub, to the quote hive, like with the Mars bees, right? Or to the location that they originally came from, who knows what. This is amazing innovation. And it's a strategy that is the spacing of visual snapshots much farther apart than previous approaches here. And so, between these snapshots, the robot relies on these kinds of pictures or like GPS for navigation, but having that data capacity is just a little bit too much. It requires too much data capacity. But taking these snapshots, using and then labeling them as a zip file, a JPEG, a PNG, you're saving a lot more space than using a full blown GPS. And that's what it's all about. It's about saving that memory. So they went to ants, they went to nature to look for the answers. And I love it so much. It's just so cool. But I'm not the only one that thinks it's cool, right? Do you think it's also cool? Or because I don't want to be alone on this one. Someone has to hype this with me. And if you are enjoying these fun facts and articles, hit that like button right down below. Right now, we have 173 people watching this live. Nature can be the best source for learning. Yes, it can. And that mentality has been taught for hundreds, thousands of years. We can look at the Shinto religions, even Taoism as well, where they say, look to nature to not only find your answers, but to mimic them. That's how we're able to get so much different types of martial arts as well. It's just nature has so many beautiful answers, and it also shows you how vicious but effective they are. There is no such thing as waste in the animal kingdom. And we need to learn from that part. Actually, from all of it. All of it. Okay, no. That is major cool. Thank you that I'm not the only one here. John also says cool. Yes. Yes, so cool, says. All work. Nice. Okay. Right now, I am making more YouTube shorts, like very short content. And I was able to cover this that was posted today, talking about how the Jet Propulsion Laboratory has successfully transmitted Missy Elliott's groundbreaking 1997 single, The Rain Super Duper Fly, into the Milky Way galaxy, and it was aimed at Venus. I cannot play that song here, but you can find it on like the YouTube shorts here, or even on TikTok under official Cristina Gomez as well. Those links are also in the description box below. I had never heard of the song before. And let's just say I was a little shocked. Out of the several million hip hop songs that have been published in the last, well, not published isn't the right word, but aired in the last, let's say, 30 years, they picked that one. And it refers nothing, by the way, to space. Instead, it talks about how she doesn't like the rain. Did I miss something here? Like, is there a meaning behind it? Who picked this song, and why did they pick it? I'd love to know the reasoning behind it. I would say that because the JPL transmitted this song, do take a look at it. It's maybe you'll have the same questionable eyebrows like I do here on why that one was chosen. Is it a bad song? No. And also, bad and good, it's subjective on what you think is good music. But I just want to know the reasoning behind it, and I wasn't able to find it anywhere. And this went on its interstellar voyage on July 12th via NASA's Deep Space Network, traveling at the speed of light, and it it will reach its destination supposedly in just 14 minutes and a staggering 254 million kilometers away. So from here to Venus, about that far. Now, Missy Elliott said, I still can't believe. I still can't believe I'm going out of this world with NASA through the Deep Space Network with The Rain Super Duper Fly. Becomes the first ever hip hop song to transmit to space. The last songs that were transmitted were Bach, Beethoven, Mozart. Those were the songs that were picked in the 70s on the golden record. And then we're getting to hip hop. Cool. There are some really great jams, but I don't know. For me, if I had a choice, I probably would have sent Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon, or Shine on You, Crazy Diamond. Even David Bowie's Starman would have been an obvious choice, right? Just like blatantly obvious. But uh, truly, as you can tell, I'm a little lost for words. But this is strange news for sure, and that's why we are covering it, because I gotta know the mentality behind it. Yeah, Aaron, she can't stand the rain. Yeah, which I know that with Venus, that the rain is so acidic there that no one can stand the rain. So maybe I can see that point. Okay. Ryo says Venus wants a refund. Ah, that's actually pretty funny. Yeah, right, Zenza. He says, "Fly Me to the Moon" by Frank Sinatra. Also an obvious choice and an absolute classic. Ah, who doesn't love Frank Sinatra? Like he hits home every time. It's so good. Let me ask you this. All right. If you were a part of the JPL team and you had to comb through millions, and we'll stick to hip hop songs. If you had to comb through millions of hip hop songs, which one would you pick? And it can be from any part of the world. It doesn't have to be artists from the United States. It can be from anywhere. What song would you pick? Let me know in the live chat. Let me know in the comments as well, because I'd really like to hear the choice that you would decide to transmit all the way to Venus. Maybe catching some aliens' interest in some really good jams to where they're dancing in their spaceship, doing their little jig, right? Maybe a little finger dance going on. I don't know. That'd be kind of cool. Ryo says Slim Shady. Okay, that one isn't so bad. All right. Let's see. Right says, I'm a big school hip hop fan for Space Cowboy. Nice. That's also, I can see the hype on that one. The Oscar says, even Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Yes. that would be kind of comical to hear if if the JPL would have launched that song, but also it's a classic. We all know it. We all grew up with it. Is it a jam? It's good to play like your first song on the piano for all the newbies out there, but I can't play that on repeat. People are sending in some really cool music ideas and what they would post. Y'all are so awesome. Now, I do have an honorable mention for this next one as we're getting into our last article, talking about Alexa. How many of you have Alexa at your home? And how many of you are dealing with Gen Alpha kids, Gen Alpha grandkids, nieces, nephews, who knows, whatever else, right? And sometimes they say some of the weirdest slang. Like the one that really gets me is Skibbity Ohio Riz. I have no idea what that means. Like, not a clue. Well, Alexa just got an update for explaining 20 popular Gen Z and Gen Alpha slang phrases. So, when you're really struggling to communicate with them, Alexa's got you. They'll say, hey, Skibbity or Riz means charisma. Charisma, right? Or sus means suspicious. These kinds of things. I did have to look up a few of these before the show started, but you get my point. You get my point here. And so Alexa has got you covered. When is ChatGPT going to have its little audio version where it can just immediately translate slang like this? It probably already does. I'm just behind on that. But Alexa, I got so many complaints from people that own, and they're like, I have no idea what my grandchildren are telling me. Please, for the love of everything holy, please translate it for me. It's like a whole brand new language. And Amazon said, hey, I got you. Hang tight. Here is the update. Now, Margaret says, I don't have an Alexa. It's okay. Me neither. Brett says, Skibbity gotta be the dumbest word ever invented. Yes, you gotta thank the internet. You gotta thank TikTok for that to give us some of the most bizarre slang. And right now, they're also using beta and alpha to describe people and situations. The one that I do like is bring home the L, bring home the W, like bring home the win, W for win, L for lose or loser. Those ones I feel that many of us can understand because we've used them in the past. So that one's okay. And they're still cool. I like that. But I am happy that swag died and YOLO died. Those, I don't know, those didn't age well. I don't really remember when you used to go to the store, have it be like in those mall kiosks or maybe even any of your basic clothing stores, and you'd have these black shirts that in white or red it would just say swag on it. Then you have the flatbacks and the big sunglasses. That's kind of more millennial Gen Z. Oh, awful, ugly. And those did not age well, and I do not hope that they bring those back like how they're bringing 90s and early 2000s clothing, which is still a banger. It's still good stuff. But certain slang words have been buried, never to be revived again. Let me ask you this. What is one of your all-time favorite slang words from your generation? Let me know. Let me know. I like, even though it's not from my generation, I like using the word whack for something like that's crazy. Like, that one's fun for me. And that's fire, right? It's like super awesome. I use that one as well. Sometimes the slang will kind of pop up in the shows, but I don't use it super often in my day-to-day life or on here either. So let's hear yours. Oscar says, that's dope. Okay, yeah, that one's pretty good. Swag is a walk, says New. I'm not familiar with that particular term. Donacide says rad. Yes, that's a classic. And that one, I feel like we're still using it. Oh my gosh. Yeah, Scott says tubular, man. I'm glad that one is no longer available to us. That one was what, from the late the 80s, but from California specifically. Yes. Oh, yeah, Daniel, groovy. I want to bring that one back. That one's pretty good. I do like that. Let's see. Oh, yeah, Zenza says, or as I found in New England, wow, that's wicked. Yeah, I know people from the UK also use that. That one's great. They still use it today. All Work says bogus. Okay. I feel like we still use that one. Snarky says Ryo. Far out, says Peace. The plug. I don't actually know what that means. I don't know that one. It's a gas, says, man, now I'm either feeling too young or too old here, because it's a gas. I don't know what that means either, but if I heard it in context, maybe I would get it. But everyone here is just so awesome putting in their favorite slang words. Sweet, oh yeah. Groovy, yes. Psych, that's a good one. I used to use that when I was like 10, where you give someone a piece of candy and you're like, psych, and then you take it and then you eat it right in front of their face. Man, diabolical, but good stuff. Keep on trucking, says Loki. Yeah, I think we still use that one. That one's a classic. Bummer. For everyone else's slang words, share them in the live chat, share them in the comments as well, because it is just so much fun to hear what you have to say. And before you head out, please scan this QR code to take you to all of my social media links. And the best way to support this channel and to help it continue producing content, do take a look at Patreon. They're able to get extra content, extra videos, pictures. You're able to get merch that I am not selling, I am giving out to you. And that is the best place to support this channel, as YouTube does take 30%, which is a lot. And Patreon, you just get so many more benefits than anywhere else. So if you enjoy what you're seeing, do consider doing that. And before you head out, like this video if you haven't already, and subscribe as well. That is it for today. I will see you next time. Be safe, and remember, keep your eyes on the skies. If you enjoy the strange and the mysterious, UFOs, the paranormal, and cryptids, this channel is for you. So make sure to subscribe, as I do 3 videos right here every single week, and hit that notification bell so you do not miss any of the bonus content I post right here.